I've got a problem, guys. I'm too good at breeding guppies. Well, the guppies are too good at breeding guppies, but they don't fit in this 10-gallon aquarium anymore. So I doubled the tank's capacity and its length. You want to see how I did it? Keep watching the video. So I've started preparing the tank for scaping here, and first you'll notice we did a white background on this tank, and I've got this piece of wood that I really have been wanting to use in this 22-gallon long. But we do have an issue here. It doesn't quite fit properly for an aquascape. So the way it's sitting right now, this wood is coming around into the foreground here. You notice back here we have a bunch of space. Well, that would be normally where your foreground is. If I rotate it around and kind of put it in the back, that works, but it just looks too flat. It doesn't really sit very well. Do I want space underneath here? I'm not really quite sure, but a larger issue that I have is the space that I want to use it here. It's going to be in the way of the lighting. If I ever need to take this out, we're not going to have enough space to get the stick out from the lighting that's going to go under this rack. And I also can't see much of the interesting part of the wood, which is all of these little roots up here at the top. So this is a very interesting portion of the wood. So I think what I'm going to do is make an executive decision, and I'm going to hack off this stump down here. That will give this ability to lay flatter. This is kind of interesting, but not as interesting as this stuff up here. And it's just going to lend itself to be scaped a lot better. There, doesn't that look a lot better? This gives me a lot more kind of opportunities, I guess, when I'm scaping. I could raise this end up if I wanted to. I can leave it flat if I want to. I also have the little chunk of wood that I cut off, so you can do accent stuff. I don't know if you wanted to stick it over here or something like that, or you could do another little piece somewhere. Very interesting though. Look at all of the wormholes that is in this wood. It's pretty crazy. I know this thing's gonna float. Now I just got to figure out what kind of aquascape I want to make. Now I've made the shocking realization that I'm not going to be able to scape this with this little gap here. This is great for servicing. I'll be able to get in here and service the tank, and that's how I designed this rack and why these tanks are going to fit properly. But I'm not going to be able to scape it in there. So I'm going to have to set it down here on the computer desk in order to have room to scape. Not the prettiest backdrop, but we'll try and frame the camera so it's not so ugly for you guys to look at. Yeah, that's better now. I can get in there and actually do some work. You can see I've already made the decision to run this wood up at an angle. I think it just looks a lot better than laying flat. All right, we got our wood glued to our two rocks in the middle there. The rock on the left is just a placeholder to keep the wood from falling forward, so don't worry about that. But I found this stick, and it used to be part of this root here. I think it went up here. I don't remember why I cut it off, but I got to playing with it because I needed a little more visual interest. If you look at the scape here, it's a little stringy right here. And then we've got this little thing in the middle, but then a mass over here, and it didn't look balanced to me. So I'm playing around with this thing, and I ended up sticking it in here, and it just kind of sat there. And I thought, huh, that looks like it fits. If we get down more level with the tank, you'll be able to see that this line right here, where the stump, if you will, or the end of that stick, that line follows all the way down to the existing wood, and it's not really that long. If we come around this side, you can see that that little stump just stops right there. But visually, it looks like one branch goes behind this root right here. If we look at it from the top, it hugs this other root just perfectly right there. The reason I think it's going to work well is we've got a mass here, we have a negative space here, another mass in the middle, and then negative space over here. All I can tell you is visually, I think it looks better. It gives your eye a little more stuff to look at. I'm going to work on this area over here and get that visually appealing, and then I think our basic hardscape's going to be done. And there we go, hardscape pretty much done. Now you'll have to pardon any reflections you see on the glass because I don't have the aquarium lighting installed to light it from the inside of the tank, but I think you can see it just fine. Also reuse this piece of wood right here that I cut off earlier because I didn't like the gap that was underneath there. Even though we're going to fill it in with some soil, I know that it was just going to look weird, so I stuck that piece of wood in there, glued it all up, and I think it filled the space in nicely. I think we'll look a little bit better once we get a substrate line here to kind of soften the edges of everything. All right, our aqua soil is coming in the mail. We are using Mr. Aqua's aqua soil. What I'm looking to do here is fill up this back space and have it, run out the front here and then fairly level. All right, we have our base of aqua soil in the aquarium. I use the entire bag. There is a slope front to back here, which you can see kind of by the moisture line there. The aqua soil is warm from being in the delivery truck, and so I have this nice kind of moisture line. But anyway, following all the aquascaping rules here, sloped front to back on our aqua soil. And the rocks here look much better as they are sat in the soil, as well as our branch here. Again, sorry for reflections. Got it higher in the back, some planting space back here, which I'm not sure what I'm putting in the back yet. But before I think about planting, I've got to finish up the substrate here. I'm going to use my Hygger tools that Hygger graciously sent over to me many a video back, and use the sand flattener to pull the aqua soil away from the front glass. The reason I'm going to do that is because we're going to be putting Seachem Fluorite Dark in as a top layer of the substrate. I think it'll look really nice with this wood here. I want something to kind of hold the aqua soil down. I know that I'm going to be planting S. repens in this area over in here as our carpeting plant, and I need something to hold it down. So we're going to use the Seachem Fluorite. It's going to look good and serve a functional purpose. All right, we are all capped with the Fluorite Dark from Seachem, and I think it's going to look pretty good. It looks just monotone right now because everything's tan, but that Fluorite Dark gets a very dark brown once you get it wet. Our wood's going to turn brown too, but we'll see how it goes. The plants are going to be adding a little variation there. Now, in adding a second layer of my substrate, I almost completely buried this stone here. So our stones look like they are definitely embedded in the substrate now, which is fine that we lost a little bit of the stone because the wood is the focal point. I'm gonna get some accent stones in here and then get to planting. It's actually not too bad or too murky on the first fill up, so shout out to Mr. Aqua on their aqua soil and Seachem for not having too dusty of a substrate. Okay, so for plants, I've got all kinds of choices here in the grow out tank as far as stems go. We're going to be getting our S. repens from my wife's Molly tank here, and I could probably pull a couple more epiphytes out of here if I need to. In the Dragon Valley Aquascape, I think I might pull a couple tiny pieces of Pinnatifida out of there, and that should probably be about it for this tank. Everything will be coming out of here, but not going in the new scape, but this is your guys' new home we're building. And finally here in Billy Bass's tank, I am going to pull a chunk of Java moss out of here from the middle. And I'm not sure, maybe some of these cardinal plants. I need a new home for them. All right, check it out. Gonna do something a little different in this video. We're skipping the planting montage. You guys have seen plants go into soil and plants get glued onto wood and stuff, right? And analytics say that most people skip to the end anyway just to see the finished result. So I'm going to toss on some music, get in a zone, scape this tank, and show you what it looks like right now. All right, well, there we go, guys. It turned out 50% how I envisioned it, and 50% of it I had to wing. Let's go over the plant list here for those that aren't familiar with the plants just by looking at them. Our carpeting plant here is S. repens. It should fill in and make a nice low carpet pending that I keep up with my trimming. The moss that you see on the wood, I went with Java moss because it stays a little bit bushier than some of the other mosses. And also added a lot of little tiny bucephalandras in here. This is brownie purple bucephalandra. And I just kind of stuck accents in little various places on this log. I think it looks good, and when they kind of take root and fill in a little bit, I think it's going to look awesome. Boost is becoming one of my favorite plants. More boost is kind of stuck all along in the holes here of this wood. I just think it looks real natural. Really satisfied with the way that that came out. Some other epiphytes are pretty obvious here. We've got Anubias Nana Petite as well as Anubias Nana Golden there in the middle. A little petite right there. Got a big old chunk of Java Fern here. This is Java Fern Trident that I took from Billy Bass's 75-gallon tank. You may have missed it in all of the video footage prior, but there is some Pinnatifida stuffed around the little nooks and crannies of the wood here. We got one there. There's more back here at the top. This one is already trying to do its immersed growth. That was the plan with putting these up top, was to see if I can get them to grow out of the water. I've never had Pinnatifida come out of the water before, so good little experiment. And very difficult to see with the glare, but there is more behind the wood as well. The stem plants here is where things got a little crazy. I did not plan on putting a lily/lotus plant in this tank, but here we have a tiger lotus that I took out of Billy Bass's 75-gallon tank. I think it's going to be pretty cool if this reaches the surface and then sends its little it sends its little lily pads, try saying that 10 times. If it sends those lily pads out across the surface, I think that'll give it a cool effect. I'm not planning on putting any other floaters in here, so that little bit of surface coverage would be kind of cool. And the only other plant you're going to see planted behind this log is a cardinal plant. That makes up the rest of the stem planting here, just one tiger lotus and some cardinal plants. I had planned on putting a little cardinal back here in the corner because I wanted the texture of the cardinal plant, just kind of some nice round fat leaves. I don't know how to describe it, but I do like the texture of the plant. I wanted the guppies to be able to swim in and out of the leaves and kind of have as much real estate to swim around in as possible. A lot of negative space in this aquascape, but it was done intentional for the guppies to be able to swim around. But I needed a dense place in the corner for the guppies to be able to breed because they have to go back there and feel safe when mama's giving birth. So I was going to put a couple of cardinals in there. I realized I had a lot more than I had anticipated. So I just started kind of spreading it along the back here. And again, you can see my plant spacing is pretty wide, I guess you would say. But as I kind of kept going, I was like, you know what? That looks pretty cool. I'm digging it. And when these grow up here and get a little bit taller, you'll be able to see them through this negative space in between these branches here. And I think it's just going to be a nice backdrop. I did forget to mention here as an epiphyte, there's a different type of fern here. This is a Java fern lace, so it should make some nice lacy little leaves as you see there. And that's going to really wrap it up. I had planned on putting some red stems in the back to give it some more color, but as I kind of went along, I'm digging the green look, and I don't have many tanks that are just green. And so I decided to go just green here with one focus color, and that's going to be a little bit of that tiger lotus. Oh, and I forgot the Pinnatifida there. That's going to give us a little bit of a pink hue as well. So little tiny pinky orange accents in an otherwise green aquascape. Now you're probably wondering filtration. You see that nice ripple we have on the surface of the water here? What is providing that beautiful water current? Well, you're not going to believe it, but a little tiny True Aqua Designs nano canister filter is hiding behind the tank here. And it is a small boy, that's for sure. If you're not familiar with them, they're about the size of my hand here. when you put these things on high, you can get some decent water flow. Now, I'll be honest with you, I hung one of the classic free sea canister filters that we always like on this channel, and it just didn't have enough power with the lily pipe to make any water current. Now I'm going to keep an eye on the tank, and honestly, I don't expect that little True Nano to be able to keep up with a bio load of like 100 and something guppies, but I'm going to try and keep the other livestock to a minimum here, a couple little shrimp and stuff, but I might even go with a monos in this tank just to keep the breeding down and really just have it a guppy breeding tank and focus the other tanks, as you see, I'm going to build for the shrimp breeding project. For lighting, we have undermount lighting that's actually designed for kitchens. It is 6500 Kelvin, and I don't remember the lumens on them, but it's lighting the tank up nicely. And with epiphytes, I should have enough lighting for most of the plants in this aquarium. But we may have an issue with the lotus, the cardinal plant, and the S. repens. They generally want a little bit more light. Nothing else in there I'm worried about as far as the lighting, but we'll see how it goes. For me, one of the most fun things of this hobby is to try different things, different lights, different filters, play around with stuff, find out what works, what the maximums are for things, where they fall short. This is the part of the video where you drop down into the comments and tell me what you think. Whether it's good or bad, it's not going to bother me. I like to hear what you guys think. It often gives me ideas for the next aquascape, or it helps me improve my skills, right? Okay, time for the main event. Let's get all of those little guppies in this aquarium here. You see I'm doing a water change, 25% to get ready. Got the biofilm off the surface. I've got a bucket somewhere. Let's go catch a whole bunch of guppies and get them in here. If you're new to the channel, here is the 10-gallon guppy breeding tank. Originally a Wallstad when this whole thing started with about 10 guppies, and you can see we have way more than 10 guppies now. They're excited because they think I'm going to feed them. Sorry guys, you're about to get upset when I drop you in this bucket here. Now, here's the thing with this project, guys, is that there are tons and tons of baby guppies all down in this glossostigma. So, not going to be able to get it all in one day. Especially once they get spooked like that, they're all going to be running towards the back and hiding. They're already hiding now. Alright, I wasn't really planning on tearing this tank completely down today. It was going to get torn down eventually, but I only have about half of the guppies here. And there is just too much space back here, too many hiding areas for them, as well as, of course, like I said, all the guppy fry. You see this little teeny tiny fry right there? Yeah, well, they all hide in the glosso here. So, wasn't planning on tearing this 100% down, but it looks like that's what we're going to do. That's why I have a plant holding tank, right? Now, I'm not going to bore you with all of that, tearing down the aquarium and catching guppies and acclimating guppies and all that kind of stuff. That's boring. What you want to see is them going in the tank. So let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, you guys ready for the big reveal here? I wanted to count these guppies, so I was going to put them in, 5 at a time or whatever. But looking into the bucket here, I decided, that's going to be hard to count all these guppies, and it would take a long time, and it would not be as entertaining as doing one big giant net dump into the aquarium for you guys. If somebody's super bored, go ahead and pause the video, count all these fish, and then drop it in the comments for me so I know how many guppies I got. you may notice in the video here that the water is slightly yellow. That's not your eyes tricking you. This wood is still releasing some tannins, even though it's a piece of driftwood. It seems to be leaching a little bit of yellow. Also, a whole bag of brand new aqua soil can also leach a little bit of yellow. Water parameters are spot on though, and I will be continuing to check for ammonia spikes and stuff. The 3 little speckled Corydoras that we put in here, they're doing fine. I was never really partial to Corys until I got a couple. But now I know why everybody loves them, because they're super cute to watch and they've got great little quirky personalities. But Steve, what about all those ram's horn snails that were in that tank? You mean these ram's horns right here? Well, we got like 3 layers deep of ram's horns here. I don't know what I'm going to do with them all, but we got ram's horn snails for every aquarium we're ever going to create for the rest of my life. It's been a couple of hours. I've had the light off for a while. Light has come back on the timer, and these little guys seem to be settled in and plenty happy. They're all spread out. They're not grouping together in fear anymore, and they're all hunting right now, looking for a little bit of food. You got a couple of males there doing the shimmy shake, trying to get with the females. So everything looks back to normal for the guppies, and that's a good thing. Let's give them a little bit of food and see if they're ready to eat. I'm going to drop a little bit of extreme community crave in here. Not a sponsored video. I buy this food myself, but they seem to like it, and the colors on the fish are always really good. So yeah, everybody's eating like normal. That means we have a happy guppy community. We can wrap this video up. Let me know what you think about the 22-gallon bookshelf aquarium. I got 4 more to do. No, 3 more. I got 3 more to do, so we're going to have 4 total. We going bookshelf crazy up in here. I'll see you then.